5 young women, 5 promising lives, all cut short in shocking and preventable ways. A bright student who vanished after a night out, her final moments captured on haunting surveillance footage. A lacrosse star whose life ended at the hands of someone she trusted. A college student who went for a jog in small-town Iowa and never came home, sparking a national media frenzy. A teenager abducted in broad daylight from a Target parking lot, her terrifying final moments caught on camera. And a young woman who made one fatal mistake when she got into what she thought was her Uber. These aren't the household names you might expect, but their stories deserve to be told. Today, we're diving deep into 5 cases that shocked communities, devastated families, and exposed uncomfortable truths about the world we live in. But before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for more true crime stories that matter. Let's start with our first case. Case 1. Hannah Graham, Charlottesville, Virginia, September 13, 2014. The University of Virginia campus was buzzing with the energy of a new school year. Among the thousands of students was 18-year-old Hannah Graham, a sophomore from Northern Virginia with dreams of becoming a doctor. Hannah was everything you'd want in a daughter. Intelligent, kind, with an infectious laugh that could light up any room. She was studying at one of the nation's most prestigious universities, and her future seemed limitless. That Friday night, Hannah decided to meet friends at a party. But what started as a typical college night out would become every parent's worst nightmare. Around 11:30 p.m., Hannah left an off-campus party. She was alone. Security cameras would later reveal her final, desperate journey through downtown Charlottesville. At 11:45 p.m., surveillance footage shows her walking past a jewelry store, disoriented, checking her phone repeatedly. She's lost. 12 minutes later, she appears on another camera, moving faster now, almost running. Something has clearly spooked her. At 1:06 a.m., chilling footage captures Hannah walking past a restaurant, but there's a figure following her. A large man in a white t-shirt, keeping pace about 20 feet behind. That man was Jesse Leroy Matthew Jr., a 32-year-old hospital worker with a secret that would soon come to light. To witnesses, he appeared to be helping Hannah, putting his arm around her, guiding her down the street. The last confirmed sighting of Hannah alive was at 1:20 a.m., entering a bar called Tempo with Matthew. When Hannah didn't return to her dorm that night, her friends assumed she'd stayed elsewhere. But by Sunday, when she missed family plans, her parents knew something was terribly wrong. The search for Hannah Graham became one of the largest missing person searches in Virginia history. Thousands of volunteers combed through woods, fields, and waterways. The FBI joined local police. But it was those haunting surveillance videos that provided the crucial break. Jesse Matthew Jr. was arrested on September 24th, charged with abduction with intent to defile. And then investigators discovered something chilling. Matthew's DNA linked him to another case, the 2009 murder of Virginia Tech student Morgan Harrington. This wasn't Matthew's first victim. He was a serial predator. On October 18, 2014, 5 weeks after Hannah disappeared, searchers found human remains in a creek bed about 12 miles from where she was last seen. It was Hannah. Jesse Matthew Jr. pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Case 2. Yeardley Love, University of Virginia, May 2010. Just 4 years before Hannah Graham's murder, another tragedy would rock this prestigious campus, but this time, it came from within the university's elite athletic circles. Yeardley Love was a 22-year-old senior and star player on UVA's women's lacrosse team. Beautiful, athletic, and popular, she seemed to have everything going for her. She was weeks away from graduation. But Yeardley had a secret: her tumultuous relationship with George Hughley V, a player on the men's lacrosse team. Hughley came from privilege, a wealthy Baltimore family and elite private schools. But beneath the golden boy exterior was a young man with serious anger issues and a dangerous relationship with alcohol. Their relationship had become increasingly volatile. Friends described explosive fights and concerning behavior from Hughley. In the months leading up to her death, Yeardley had confided that she was scared of him. May 3, 2010. Around 2:15 a.m., surveillance cameras captured Hughley entering Yeardley's apartment building. He'd been drinking heavily, and neighbors would later report hearing loud arguing and banging sounds. Hughley, in a drunken rage, beat Yeardley Love to death. The medical examiner determined she died from blunt force trauma to the head. The next morning, Yeardley's roommate discovered her body. She was lying in a pool of blood, her face so badly beaten she was nearly unrecognizable. When police questioned Hughley, they found him seemingly unconcerned. During interrogation, he initially denied everything, but when confronted with evidence, he admitted to shaking Yeardley, and said her head repeatedly hit the wall. The case sent shockwaves through UVA and the elite lacrosse community. The trial revealed disturbing details about their relationship: Yeardley's controlling behavior, violent outbursts, and inability to accept that Yeardley wanted to end things. Text messages between them painted a picture of psychological abuse. Yeardley would bombard Yeardley with messages, becoming increasingly threatening when she didn't respond. In February 2012, George Yeardley was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 23 years in prison. Case 3. Mollie Tibbetts, Brooklyn, Iowa, population 1,468. The kind of small town where everyone knows everyone, where people leave their doors unlocked. It was here, in July 2018, that 20-year-old Mollie Tibbetts was spending her summer break from the University of Iowa. Mollie was house-sitting for her boyfriend's family, taking care of their dogs. She was a psychology major with dreams of helping children, known for her bright smile and infectious positivity. On the evening of July 18th, Mollie did something she'd done countless times before. She went for a run. She put on her running gear, earbuds in, and headed out into the warm summer evening. She would never return. When Mollie failed to show up for work the next morning, alarm bells immediately went off. By that afternoon, her family had contacted police, and by evening, a massive search effort was underway. For weeks, Mollie's face was everywhere. The search became a national obsession. Nancy Grace covered it nightly. Social media was flooded with theories and supposed sightings, but leads were scarce. Iowa is vast, with endless cornfields and rural roads where someone could disappear without a trace. Then, nearly 5 weeks after she vanished, came the breakthrough. Investigators had been reviewing surveillance footage from businesses along Mollie's running route. In grainy footage, they spotted a black Chevy Malibu that appeared to be following a jogger who matched Mollie's description. Police traced the car to 24-year-old Christian Bahina Rivera, an undocumented immigrant who worked at a local dairy farm. When confronted by police, Rivera initially denied involvement, but after hours of interrogation, he finally broke down and confessed to following Mollie while she jogged, becoming angry when she threatened to call police, and ultimately killing her in a rage. He led police to her body, hidden beneath corn stalks in a remote field about 20 miles from where she was last seen alive. Because Rivera was in the country illegally, Mollie's murder became a rallying cry for immigration hardliners. Politicians seized on her death to push for stricter border policies, despite her family's pleas not to use her memory to promote hate. In May 2021, Rivera was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole, but also demonstrated the power of surveillance technology in modern investigations. Today, the Mollie Tibbetts Memorial Run is held annually in Brooklyn, Iowa, celebrating her life and raising awareness about runner safety. Case 4. Kelsey Smith, Overland Park, Kansas, June 2, 2007. It was a typical Saturday for 18-year-old Kelsey Smith. She'd just graduated from high school and was enjoying her summer before starting college. That afternoon, she drove to the Target store at Oak Park Mall to buy a gift for her boyfriend's birthday. Kelsey was the kind of young woman who lit up every room she entered. She was kind, funny, and deeply loved by her family and friends. She had dreams of studying art. At 7:09 p.m., Target's surveillance cameras captured Kelsey walking through the store, browsing the electronics section. She seemed relaxed and happy, taking her time to find the perfect gift. She had no idea she was being watched. What happened next would be captured in some of the most chilling surveillance footage ever recorded. At 7:18 p.m., Kelsey completed her purchase and walked out to the parking lot. The cameras show her approaching her car, keys in hand, when suddenly a figure appears behind her. Edwin Hall, a 26-year-old man with a history of mental illness and violent fantasies, had been stalking women in the area for weeks. He'd followed several women to their cars, but had never acted on his impulses. Until that day. The surveillance footage shows Hall approaching Kelsey from behind as she unlocks her car door. In a matter of seconds, he forces her into the vehicle at gunpoint and drives away. The entire abduction took less than 15 seconds. Kelsey's parents became concerned when she didn't return home by her 9 p.m. curfew. By midnight, they had contacted police. But in 2007, law enforcement's ability to quickly track cell phones was limited by bureaucratic red tape. Police needed warrants and court orders that could take days to obtain, precious time that victims rarely had. As the hours ticked by, investigators worked frantically to track her cell phone. The breakthrough came when detectives reviewed the target surveillance footage and realized they were dealing with an abduction. Meanwhile, cell phone pings had led investigators to a wooded area near Longview Lake, about 20 miles south of the Target store. On June 6th, 4 days after she disappeared, searchers found Kelsey's body in a wooded area near the lake. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled. Edwin Hall was arrested within hours. DNA evidence and cell phone records tied him definitively to the crime. He eventually pleaded guilty to capital murder and was sentenced to death. But Kelsey's story didn't end with her killer's conviction. Her parents channeled their grief into action, working to change laws that could help save other victims. The result was the Kelsey Smith Act, legislation that allows law enforcement to obtain cell phone location data in emergency situations without waiting for a court order. The Kelsey Smith Act has been adopted in numerous states and has been credited with helping to solve dozens of cases and save countless lives. It's a fitting legacy for a young woman whose own life was cut short. Case 5. Samantha Josephson, Columbia, South Carolina, March 29, 2019. It was a typical Friday night in the Five Points Entertainment District, packed with University of South Carolina students. Among them was 21-year-old Samantha Josephson, a senior from New Jersey studying political science. She was out with friends at a local bar, celebrating one of her last semesters before graduation. Samantha had dreams of attending law school. Around 2 a.m., Samantha decided to call it a night. She used the Uber app to request a ride back to her apartment, something she'd done dozens of times before. At 2:09 a.m., surveillance cameras captured Samantha standing alone on Hardin Street, looking at her phone, waiting for her ride. At 2:15 a.m., a black Chevy Impala pulled up near where Samantha was standing. Assuming this was her Uber, she opened the rear door and got into the vehicle. It wasn't her Uber. It was a car driven by 24-year-old Nathaniel Rowland, a man with a history of violence who had been prowling the Five Points area looking for a victim. Samantha's friends became concerned when she didn't respond to text messages. By the next afternoon, her disappearance was being treated as a criminal investigation. The key break came when investigators reviewed surveillance footage. They could see her getting into the black Impala, and they could make out part of the license plate number. Nathaniel Rowland was arrested about 24 hours after Samantha's disappearance when police spotted his car. Inside the vehicle, they found Samantha's blood, her cell phone, and bleach that Rowland had been using to try to clean up evidence. On March 31st, turkey hunters found Samantha's body in a wooded area about 65 miles from where she was last seen alive. The details of her murder were so brutal that prosecutors sought the death penalty. The investigation revealed that after abducting her, Rowland had driven to a remote area where he attacked her with a knife. Samantha fought desperately for her life, suffering over 120 stab wounds. During the trial, prosecutors revealed that Rowland had been hunting for victims in the Five Points area for weeks, driving around looking for intoxicated women who might mistake his car for their rideshare. In July 2021, Rowland was convicted of murder and kidnapping and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Samantha's parents became advocates for rideshare safety. Their efforts led to the passage of Sammy's Law, which requires rideshare vehicles to have lighted signs and mandates additional identification measures. The law also created the "What's My Name" campaign, encouraging rideshare users to ask drivers their name before getting into a vehicle. Today, the Samantha L. Josephson Foundation continues promoting rideshare safety and supporting victims' families. It's a living legacy for a young woman whose life was stolen just weeks before graduation. And that brings us to the end of our look at these 5 cases. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate this kind of video, please subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to leave a like and comment what case we should cover next. Thank you.